This is Woburn Safari Park, home to some of the most endangered wildlife on the planet. 600 animals, 76 different species. For the first time, the park allows access all areas, from dangerous carnivores to fragile newborns, in unparalleled close encounters. In today's program, it's leaving day for 2 giraffe, but their departure is fraught with difficulty.
All right, steady boys, relax.
There's a strange reversal of parenting roles amongst the aggressive herd of zebra.
Certainly something that nobody expected. It's baffled us.
And there's a dangerous encounter as bull rhino Kai comes face to face with the rest of his herd.
Hey, hey, hey!
Woburn Safari Park is set on a historic site in the heart of England. The wild animals live in 330 acres of forest and open reserves. Today, several of the species face life-changing experiences. It's been 2 weeks since new bull rhino Kai arrived at Woburn. He's been kept indoors, but today he will be allowed out for the first time. Kai will need to live with the park's 4 females on the safari's African reserve. The first stage is getting him used to the outside yard.
When he is introduced to the females, if anything goes untoward, like he needs to escape or they need to escape, he's going to know his way around this yard and also the building. So basically, it's so he can get out the way if need be. He knows where he's going.
This 2.5-ton beast is ready to go. Nick opens up and lets Kai outside. Southern white rhino are large and imposing creatures, but they suffer from terrible eyesight. Smell is by far their most powerful sense. In fact, the olfactory passages that are responsible for the sense of smell are larger than the rhino's entire brain. So Kai heads for the pungent dung. He quickly realizes that other rhino have been here. And makes his presence felt by spraying his scent.
He has been caught out once or twice. Something's maybe in the air that he's heard, or something he's obviously not familiar with that's just given him that bit of a jump. But other than that, I mean, he's going very well. His tail's up, which means he's quite alert and active. I mean, he's as good as gold, really.
But even from behind the fence, Kai is already attracting the interest of the females, who come to take a closer look. Kai is on edge as his potential suitors approach. Nick is confident that Kai is ready for the big introduction later today, when all 5 rhino will be in one pen together.
Just hope he's not a Jekyll and Hyde character when he's introduced, but I can't see that he should be.
But with wild animals, you can never tell. In the safari's bird of prey arena, its 2 youngest members are growing up fast.
Burrow burrowing owl chicks are about 9-10 weeks old now. Last week was a huge week for them. Not only did they end up having their anklets and their jesses put on, which are their training straps, they also spent their first night in their aviary, so it's a big step for them to be outdoors all night.
Terry has hand-reared Digger and Dodger since they were 3 weeks old. They are now fully weaned. She helped them get their feeding right and take their first steps outside. They now live in the aviaries with the other birds of prey. This was a difficult move for Terry.
It was really hard putting them outside away from the creche for the first time. It was raining a lot that day, so I did feel like I was a really bad parent letting them find their own way in the rain. But they managed and they were fine in the morning. They still loved me, so it was good.
Today is the next important stage in their development. They're learning to fly. This morning, it's Dodger's turn, and the weather has to be just right.
When I come out, I have to check for the wind. The birds like wind in their faces. They really don't like it at their tails. If it's at their tails, it can be a really uncontrolled flight. Good boy, well done. That was very quick for you.
The burrowing owls do have an innate instinct to fly, but as he's so young, Dodger is completely relying on Terry and her titbits for encouragement.
Well done.
As Dodger gets more confident, Terry steps further back.
Time and patience, and a little bit of trust, a lot of trust, I should say, really. But certainly time and patience on my part. Their first flight was quite literally just a step off the post. And then they just go longer and longer. They have to trust me that they're not going to fall off the glove. I have to trust them that they're not going to go in the other direction.
In the wild, when they master their flying skills, the owls use their tits in the air, or hover before swooping down on prey. Dodger has a little way to go yet.
It's a bit breezy today.
All the older birds here fly every day, and the best way for them to exercise is being part of the Birds of Prey show.
Oh dear, we're not at the parrot show. We're at
The visiting public come to see their flying skills and learn more about the individual species, like Edgar, the eagle owl.
When he reaches maturity, at about 18 months, 2 years old, I'm hoping that he's going to make a two-hoot call. Being male, he will make a two-hoot.
Little Dodger will be one of the newest recruits, so he has lots to get used to.
He knows how to fly. His biggest challenge will be getting used to the people, the noises that come with people, children running around, and our weather as well. It can get a lot windier and wetter up here, and he's got to learn to cope with all of it.
Dodger and his sister Digger have just 8 weeks before their Birds of Prey show debut.
Excellent.
Fingers crossed, they'll graduate. It's dinner time for the giraffe herd, and for 2 young males, their last supper here at Woburn. Tomorrow, 2-year-old Jake and 3-year-old Icarus are leaving the park. They're both Rothschild giraffes, one of the most endangered subspecies of giraffe, with only a few hundred left in the wild. The boys will soon be reaching sexual maturity and have already started to display classic giraffe aggression. So, they're moving to an all-male herd at another park until they're ready to breed. Tomorrow is also a big day for keeper Lindsay. She's just been promoted to the head of this department and has never coordinated a giraffe move before.
I'm extremely nervous. I mean, it'll be my first giraffe move that I'll be helping to run. But for me, it's the first time that I feel it's my responsibility now to make sure the animals are all right and the staff are okay.
Loading wild animals is always dangerous, as no one knows how they will react. But this time, there is added pressure.
For us, it's the first time we'll have loaded 2 together. In the past, we've loaded 1, but they're taking the 2 in one trailer, so it could go any way, to be honest. The 2 could steady one another, or, you know, we get one on the trailer and then the other one not follow. I mean, anything could happen on the day, so it is a bit worrying. hopefully it'll be okay.
But Icarus and Jake have other ideas. At Woburn Safari Park, the giraffe house is a hive of activity. Icarus and Jake are spending their final morning here, and it's almost time for them to leave for their new home at the Cotswold Wildlife Park.
Good boys. It's always a worrying time. I mean, they're dangerous animals. They've got, you know, a powerful kick on them. You know, and it's a small house in the sense that you're trying to put them in a small area to encourage them onto the horse box, and you know, they're bucking up and down and bouncing on the spot because it's something different for them, and so you're constantly aware in the back of your mind what could go wrong.
The transport truck is already in place. It has a specially designed roof which will lower when the giraffe are inside, but for now it's elevated to give them plenty of headroom as they get in. Both Jake and Icarus need some encouraging words from Lindsay to persuade them to leave their house and get on board.
Around, back round, back round.
Giraffe are extremely powerful and can be highly strung. If they panic, this could be dangerous for the staff. Just one kick could kill.
Good boy. Steady, steady, steady.
The team use flexible poles to guide the giraffes forward. Now the boys are maturing, they can be more feisty. Their mood will affect whether they cooperate or not.
Put in.
Jake is the younger, but he heads outside first. Icarus just isn't so sure.
All right, Icarus, good boy. Look, Jake's doing again, good lad. Come on, Jake, good boy. You're a good boy.
The giraffe aren't cooperating, so the team have to come up with a plan B. They're going to try and get both giraffe in the front holding area first, and then shut the gate behind them. Icarus comes through first, but goes in the wrong direction. And Jake won't get on board without him. The team try to shut the gate, and both boys panic.
Steady, boys, good lads. Steady up. We need to get that door open. Have you got a long stick to get that door open? Good boys, steady.
It's time for a second attempt.
Good boy, good boy, good boy.
And this time seems to work.
Come on you go, good lads. Up, 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 up. Good lad, he's on the
But as the team try to close the door to the truck, the giraffes spook again.
Right, start again.
Good boys, that's all right, steady poppets, good lads.
Icarus and Jake go outside again, and the team can now shut the big wooden door behind them. It's a success.
Thank you, Keith.
Well done.
Now the giraffe are on board, the roof is lowered into the safe position for the 2-hour journey. Icarus and Jake are finally on their way. Unloading at their new home will be just as difficult, and no one knows how they will react. The most colourful species at the safari park are the exotic birds. There are 10 different types of parrots here, including 3 species of macaw. Like the birds of prey, they fly every day, which keeps them in top condition.
Every morning we weigh every single bird before we fly them. It's basically to make sure they're at a correct flying weight, so they're at basically their peak of their flying condition. So we're exercising them every day, making sure they're staying fit and healthy. It's a bit like you and me. If we can exist without going to the gym, but by going to the gym and having an active lifestyle, we tend to be much healthier. And that's basically what we're doing for our birds. We're giving them the exercise and the interest in their life.
In their native Central and South America, most macaws live in rainforests where the weather stays consistently warm. British summertime, though, can prove more difficult, but unusually not today.
The flying conditions today are actually really good for them. They have trouble flying in the rain, so obviously it makes their feathers quite heavy, so they've got to work a little bit harder. There's absolutely no breeze today, so they're not having to work flying against the breeze. So it's actually really, really good weather conditions for them flying today.
Like the birds of prey, these birds are allowed to fly freely, but have been trained to return to the keepers when they give the sign.
When I want them to come back in, I go and stand down in the gravel area and put my arms out as landing perches, and that's their signal, so they know when to come in to land then.
Living with the macaws is their close cousin, the cockatoo. They are all highly intelligent species, and here the keepers work hard to keep them stimulated. But they also have an unpredictable personality.
Macaws particularly have got very, very powerful beaks. They've got about 360 pounds of crushing power. Now, if you grind your teeth together, you can exert about 60, to give you a rough idea of just how powerful they are. So if you have them in your home, they're going to be destroying your furniture, they can chew through solid lumps of wood. It's not a problem to them. So obviously you introducing your bare hands to them, there's always going to be the opportunity for them, if they're not in a very good mood or they don't really want to come out to play, to possibly do you quite a nasty injury, whether it's just a broken bit of skin, a bruise, or they could actually potentially break fingers.
Caroline has worked with parrots for 11 years and knows these guys well, but even she has battle scars.
I did have one take quite a nice chunk out of my ear once, so I had to have that glued back together, A&E. And I also had another one take a little chunk out of my lip, which again I had to glue back at A&E. So they do have quite potential to do quite nasty injuries. Luckily, they've all just been little flesh wounds.
So keeping your distance is definitely a safer option. The Woburn giraffe are now settled on the journey to their new home at the Cotswold Wildlife Park. Icarus and Jake will join 2 other resident males to make a bull supergroup. Cotswold's keeper Lauren is excited about her 2 new additions.
Can't wait for the 2 arrivals, really excited, really looking forward to it. Been preparing for it for quite a while, so yeah, just can't wait really.
But transporting giraffe comes with dangers.
The worst thing that could happen is in the journey here they could have gotten a bit stressed, they could knock themselves up a little bit in the transport container, possibly some scratches and bruises. They've also obviously got to navigate the new house, it's completely new to them. We're just sort of nervous in terms of how they're going to react.
Cotswold Wildlife Park is set in 160 acres of parkland, and the giraffe have plenty of space to live in. The quicker the 4 males can meet each other, the better. So, as soon as they arrive, the team wastes no time in opening the gate to the house. Unlike getting them into the trailer, there's no fuss persuading them out. Icarus and Jake stride confidently into their new home. Sentry is the more outgoing of the 2 resident males. He heads over to the newcomers first. There is a fence line between the giraffe, but there's plenty of opportunity for physical contact.
Sentry's going over to the other giraffe to sniff them, to lick them, basically to familiarise himself with the scents. Animals have a much greater sense of smell than we do. They get a lot of information out of scent, how old they are, what sex they are, if they're female, if they're in season, that sort of thing, whether they're potentially pregnant. They can tell so much more from smell than we can. So that's one of the first ways they're going to be able to distinguish a new individual from another individual that they already know. So it's really fantastic to see Sentry going up, and he's being really gentle, really lovely, and it's going really, really well.
At Woburn, Icarus and Jake were part of a mixed herd, so they will smell of the females. This has sparked Sentry's interest, but Wallace is just too shy.
Wallace is basically just standing in a corner wondering who they are, what's going on. He has taken a few tentative steps towards them, but he sort of is hiding behind Sentry and then sort of stretching his neck out, coming back and walking back to his corner again, and then basically eating as if to say, I don't care if you're here, I'm just going to eat. So hopefully later on he'll build up the courage and he'll go over and say hello.
The park is relieved. Icarus and Jake suffered no injuries during their long journey to their new home and seem to be settling well. In a breeding group with females present, male giraffe will often fight, but in an all-male group, they are generally very peaceful. But this could change.
Giraffe can be very anxious, stressful animals, and we need to monitor them not only for the next few days or the next few weeks, but potentially for the next few months, because they can suffer the effects of that transport for quite a long time.
Back at Woburn, they may have lost 2 youngsters from their herd, but it won't be long before they welcome 2 new arrivals. Woburn Safari Park is home to 3 untidy male Bactrian camels. Genghis, Zieg, and Norman are halfway through the molting season. This species of camel is critically endangered, with only 1,000 surviving in the wilds of Central and Eastern Asia. They can be boisterous animals, and if provoked, they can become vicious and attack. The staff usually keeps a hands-off approach with them. But the vet is here today, and the team want to see the trio close up. The keepers use their somewhat curious calling system to herd them in.
It's just an historical call. A keeper many years ago decided to call them dibblies. And whenever she called them up the paddock, it was dibbly, dibbly, dibbly. I'm not going to imitate it. It's a girly thing. Norman, come on. Silly old fool, come on.
At 17, Norman is the eldest of the boys at the park, but camels can live up to 40.
Come on, Norman. Bananas.
Oh, no, what's this?
They are extremely hardy animals, surviving plummets in temperature down to -30 degrees in the wild.
Come on.
But here in the UK, Norman's biggest problem is with his eyes.
He gets recurring ulcers in his eyes, sort of generally this time each year. They just come up really suddenly. We see cloudiness in his eyes, he gets a discharge, and he's blinking on the bad side.
Bactrian camels' eyes are well evolved for their harsh, natural surroundings. They have broad ridges of bone above each eye, acting as a built-in sun visor. And their long eyelashes protect from sand and dirt. But this hasn't been the case for Norman.
On his right eye, you've probably seen how it's streaming down his face. He's blinking it more, but he's got an ulcer right in the middle of the cornea, and he's got blood vessels building up in that, which means that it's starting to heal. So if he was an easy animal, we'd put eye drops in it to stop it getting infected.
Norman is anything but an easy animal. He refuses to take eye drops, and the medication goes everywhere except in his eyes. Instead, his pain relief is given to him in his food. Something which Norman has no problem with. The keepers will need to keep him under close observation, because if he starts rubbing his eyes and dirt gets into them, infection could set in. Over the past few days, something strange has happened in the eland antelope herd.
Well, that's a very good question as to what is going on now, because none of us know.
Last week, eland calf Limber finally joined her herd. She had been kept separated until she was strong enough to outrun the aggressive Chapman zebra, who live in the same reserve. But now, something very unusual has happened.
Totally unexpectedly, the zebra mare has mothered or adopted the eland calf, and this is unheard of. It's baffled us for the moment because she's just like a surrogate mother.
Sarah the zebra follows the calf wherever she goes, but hasn't taken over parenting completely. She still lets Limber return to her real mum to suckle. And Limber's mum seems very happy with the arrangement.
Well, the interesting thing is that she is keeping the eland calf in front of her so she can see anything that's coming towards the calf that could be a threat, and she's already in position to act upon that.
The zebra are an intelligent species, and in the past, this herd has worked together to act aggressively towards the eland antelope. Could there be a more sinister motive behind this mare's particularly friendly behavior?
I think it is a genuine reason for her to act this way, but we can't think, you know, what the reason is. I mean, whether something's just hot-wired in her brain that she's got to adopt this eland calf that she may think is a zebra calf, I don't know. It's really anybody's guess. We have inquired around one or two other collections, and they've not known it either. So whether it's just a one-off or not, I would assume it is. It's most strange.
But no one knows how long this newfound harmony will last. Next to the African plain is a secluded 8-acre forest enclosure home to the park's 2 Siberian tigers. In the wild, these endangered animals are mostly solitary and spend hours patrolling their territory. They use up a lot more energy than the other big cats do. Today, Karushka is kept inside while Keeper Amy prepares her a new task to burn off some of that energy.
The favourite piece of meat for tigers is horse meat. So today we've got a leg, and what we've done is we've cut a slit in it. Basically, what we'll do is we'll hook it up to this chain on the tree, and because it's slit here, this is sort of the hock joint, so there's quite a few tendons and things running through, and it should take them a little while before they'll be able to yank it off the chain. It kind of just gives them a little bit more to do through the day instead of just taking a piece and running off with it.
13-year-old Karushka is an older cat and suffers from hip dysplasia and arthritis. She's given anti-inflammatory drugs, but her lively nature and overexertion can aggravate her hips. So this exercise is perfect for her.
You'll find that the muscle she uses is in the shoulders and in her neck, because she'll be yanking at this. So it's good for her to get the exercise in the front part of her body and really allowing the back part of her body to sort of relax a little bit more. She'll be straight on this. She loves this kind of stuff.
A tiger's sense of smell is not as strong as their other senses, but Karushka will have heard Amy outside. So, when she's let out, she heads straight for the meat. She realizes today's dinner is going to be a challenge. In the wild, tigers are the perfect killing machine. They bite their victim's throat using their forelimbs to pull it to the ground. They don't let go until the prey dies of strangulation. Karushka clamps down on the meat. Her bite force is 40 times greater than a human's. And she's so strong that she could drag an animal 5 times her own weight. It's one final tug, and the meat loses this battle. It's one of the biggest days of the year for Woburn Safari Park. A long-planned meeting for the southern white rhinos is about to take place. But first, Keeper Nick must brief the team on rhino handling safety.
But there will be a stage if the aggression levels are up, then we're going to have to step in and obviously sort it out.
The park is allowing bull rhino Kai to have contact with the females for the first time.
Ideally, we're going to let them have a good go. It may look a bit bloody or whatever to begin with. We may get a few cuts and scratches.
The team can't predict what might happen as these two ton animals come face to face.
If they do start kicking off, you know, and you need to shut the door or make a lot of noise, there's some sticks here to make a noise with on the bars. If you need to sort of try and split any up, then we've got the long poles. There are certain levels of aggression with the male. He has to sort of stamp his authority. He has to let the females know who's boss. It's just knowing where to draw the line, because if you don't let the aggression out, it's just going to build up and up at a later stage.
All 4 females are waiting for Kai. Pongola and Miriam are the eldest at 40 and 29 and are too old to mate. The best breeders would be 6-year-olds Mikuzi and Matubatuba. It's hoped Kai's real interest will lie with them. But first, they'll have to put any tensions aside.
It's either going to be a case of handbags at dawn or a rumble in the jungle.
At Woburn Safari Park, there's an expectant atmosphere in the monkey jungle.
Barbries, come on!
It's feed time. There are 50 primates of 3 different species that live here together. And when it comes to food, tempers can flare. So, keeper Laura has come up with a cunning plan to distribute their snacks in a circle.
So rather than having a line of food, they're all in together. You'll find that the dominant ones will generally be in the middle of the circle, and then the lesser dominant ones will come in from the edge, because that's their escape route. So if they're on the edge just working their way in, the dominant ones can push them off, and then they've got the rest of the jungle to run away to.
The monkeys are getting a snack mix of fruit, seeds, and specially made primate pellets. Everyone is distracted and tucking in, but they all keep one eye on each other. There are 5 impressive drill monkeys who wander amongst the ranks. But with the amount of Barbries topping 30, they have safety in numbers and are not fazed by the drills. In the past month alone, there have been 7 new babies in the troop. They will suckle from their mums until they're 7 months old. But some can't resist seeing what the snacks are all about. Other youngsters just want to play, but being too rough can get you into trouble. And once they've mastered the art of piggyback riding, they can cling on in any situation. With bellies full, the Barbries begin grooming each other to reinforce bonds and communicate by teeth chattering. But there's one elderly female who sits alone, still hungry. 16-year-old Nellie is the lowest-ranking member of the group. She often gets picked on and is unable to feed. She has a bacterial stomach condition which gets worse when she's stressed, so she needs medication in her food. To make sure she doesn't get picked on and can eat in peace, Laura has to resort to another cunning plan.
I've snuck over here to see Nellie, because when we give her her meds, we need to make sure that she's not actually with the group. And if she is, we try and put the wagon so the others can't see her, because when we drop her the meds, we've got to make sure that, one, the other Barberries don't pick it up, and two, that they don't pick on her because they see her as getting the good food and they want to know why. So when I come out, I try and do it very discreetly and as carefully and quietly as I can. Good girl, Nels. Good girl. Good girl, Nels. That's it, all gone.
If Nellie's medication doesn't work, the park will have to call in the vet to investigate further. There are 600 animals on show in the safari park. Many of these are dangerous. And potentially deadly. So, it's important there are strict safety systems in place, especially if an animal escapes or attacks. A firearms team is always on standby. They carry rifles, shotguns, and darting equipment. If a firearm is used, it's usually as a deterrent, designed to frighten the animal, not kill it. But if an animal does need to be shot, it's done by the team who regularly train in target practice. The firing range is actually outside the safari, away from the animals and visitors. Today, head keepers Bob and Chris and the animal manager Keith are taking aim.
The rifle we got this afternoon is a 270 rifle. We use this, or would use this, for many of the species within the park, from the smaller species right up to quite the large species. We carry two bigger caliber rifles as well if there's a problem with elephants or rhino. With these, we just practice on a paper target so we can see where our bullets have landed.
Yeah, not so bad, mate. You had one wayward shot.
The last one.
You had three and then you had the last shot, didn't you? So
yeah.
I think you'd have safely killed your quarry at that range.
I think I'd knock down a bison.
Yeah?
Yeah, no problem.
It's quite a big responsibility what we have to do being as part of the firearms team, because you don't know what you might get called to. Luckily, we don't get a great deal of these sort of incidents, so you're always wondering, obviously, one day there could be a problem.
The high-powered rifle is effective for most of the animals, but for the big cats, shotguns are needed. They're louder, and noise is the best form of deterrent for these carnivores.
We use the watermelons to show how dangerous the guns can be. The shotguns are different to the rifles in the fact that they send pellets that do spread, but you'll still see at this distance the damage that causes to something like a watermelon. So that's why we have to be so careful and safety conscious with the weapons.
The team have been doing this for so long that they sometimes forget how accurate they can be. Or sometimes not. The team all realize it is a serious business. There's always the possibility that the next time they get out the guns, it won't be just soft fruit in the firing line. In the rhino paddock, Kai is about to come face to face with the females. The gate is opened and Kai nudges forward.
Good boy. Oh, Pongola's seen it all before.
You're not interested at all, is she?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Locking horns is part of a meeting ritual, but the most aggressive thing a rhino can do is ram its horn under the soft part of its rival's legs. And Matuba Tuba soon feels Kai's full force.
Steady.
Hey, hey, hey!
Shut the door. Don't let him in there.
Matuba Tuba has run to safety.
Just singled one out, didn't he? He's probably thinking to himself, 1 down, 3 to go.
It's round 1 to Kai. The team have no idea what will happen in round 2. Kai and the remaining 3 females are in a standoff. A rhino's horn can eventually grow to a deadly 1.5 meters long. Males use their horns to attack,
Good boy.
while females use them to defend. Elderly Pongola, who has the longest horn of them all, stands up to Kai.
Go on, Pongola, sort him out.
She's had lots of meetings like this before, and nothing phases her. Kai, though, is not impressed, and she becomes his next target. Pongola runs inside to safety. But now the other 2 females are left face to face with Kai. In the panic, they all run inside.
I think it was a little bit of a rumble in the jungle rather than handbags at dawn. And it was, well, I'm in a bit of a sweat still. We managed to sort them out. And luckily, you know, after a while, each are in their separate pens that they should be in. And just beginning to calm down a bit now. So we're going to go again. Same setup, same situation. And hopefully for a little bit longer.
Kai and the Rhino girls will have a week to recover. Then phase 2 of their integration will begin. But this will present an even bigger challenge.
We might possibly take Kai's horn off. It will just protect the girls if he does get one in the corner.
A special meeting is on the horizon for the park's rare newborns. And it's a new experience for Yuzin, the Asian elephant, as she takes to the water for the first time in decades.
We're back at Woburn's world-famous safari park for a brand new adventure tomorrow night at 9 o'clock here on Sky 3D.